The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.
Hello Cherries fans, and welcome back to Up the Cherries, and of course it's time for cherry picking, and this is a very special edition of cherry picking. It's the first part in a mini series which we've called Andoni Half Time Report, where we're going to look back over Iraola's time at Bournemouth. And to do that with me, I've got two very, very special guests who I shall introduce to you now. Everybody who's familiar with the channel will know both of them, so they're not unrecognisable. But the first one I'm going to introduce is the man that's done the research for the first two episodes of this mini-series, and that is, of course, Mr. Malcolm Chiverton. Malcolm, welcome back to Cherry Picking. Good to have you with me as always.
Hello, Matt. Yeah, great to be on here. Interesting topic.
Yes, interesting topic, which I know you've done a lot of research for. I know our next guest has also done a bit of research for future episodes as well. And we might as well bring him in now. It's probably the perfect time to do that. And of course, that is Mr. Ollie Hudson. Ollie, how you doing?
How you doing, chaps? Very, very keen to be here tonight. I'm looking forward to the show.
Yeah, and it's a pleasure to have you with us. So let's get cracking. So yeah, as I'm sure you would have seen from the thumbnail, what we are looking at over a few episodes of cherry picking is the Andoni Half Time Report. So looking back over his time at Bournemouth, the impact he's had, and a lot more as well. But obviously this episode is Andoni Who, the Iraola Gamble, we've called this one, where we're going to just take a look back at his maiden season, obviously his appointment and a few other bits and pieces as well. So to get started with, well, I suppose the best place to get started is where it actually all started. And that is, of course, with this guy here. So just to set up the scene, the summer of 2023, Gary O'Neill was relieved of his duties as manager of AFC Bournemouth. For many of us at the time, it was a shock. I don't think many people saw that coming. But when you look back on it now, from the 30th of August 2022 to the 19th of June 2023, he managed 37 games, won 11, drew 6, lost 20, with a win percentage of 29.73%. And of course, this is where I'm going to bring my guests in now, because going back over this one, guys, I'll just very, very, very honest with you. At the time, I was a little bit shocked. I thought maybe he deserved a little bit extra. But then after about 20 minutes after the announcement, just before they announced the new guy, I kind of thought, well, is he the man to take Bournemouth forward? And I never thought he was. But Malcolm, if we could start with you first. The sacking, did it come as a shock to you, or was it a case that you could see it coming?
It was a shock to me. Certainly couldn't see it coming, especially as he kept us in the Premier League, hadn't he? I didn't sort of look ahead too much to the coming season, and I thought, well, it's a steady ship. Let's see how we get on. Yeah, and when the news broke, I was like, oh, and I can distinctly remember messaging my brother, and he just replied with a simple, just wait. And within a matter of, I don't know how long it was,
I think it was within hour, I think, if I remember
It,
rightly.
it was within an hour, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah, if I remember rightly, it was very, very quick.
Yeah, and then he texted me back again and said, "See, told you." So, yeah, it was a bit of a weird one, really. But okay, Gary O'Neill, he'd probably gone as far as he was likely to go with the club. But we weren't to know it was going to be an unknown. Let's see what happens in the weeks, months ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Ollie, your first initial thoughts when you heard the announcement of O'Neill's sacking, is it a case for you that you thought that this looks like the club are going in another direction, or did you think O'Neill deserved a chance to go again? I mean, what was your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with both of you, actually. Initially, I didn't think it was fair. I had the thought process that we should have backed him a little bit further. There was a couple of games that maybe we should have got points on, that we were a bit unlucky in. And I just, at the time, I thought he deserved another chance or a little bit longer for sure. It was a bit of a shock. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I say, mixed views myself at the time. But like I say, within the hour, the announcement of the new guy was released by the club, and it was this man. So it was kind of a wait, who is this guy kind of moment. The club made a swift managerial transition, announcing Iraola's appointment immediately after confirming O'Neill's departure. And this was a rapid move, was part of Bournemouth's strategic shift to bring in a coach aligned with the owner Bill Foley's ambitions for more of a progressive style of play. Now, just come to you, Ollie, with the whole Bill Foley side of things. What's your? I know you got a little bit that you want to say on that. A few thoughts and opinions on that side of things.
Yeah, I do. I think some will leave till part 2 because there's a ton that I want to get into with Bill Foley, and I guess the right word is the stabilisation of the club, so that we're not consistently battling in the relegation. I think as fans and as a team, we were tired of having this potential and never quite getting there. Having these good players come, or having these moments of magic that we all saw, and the reasons why we're all Bournemouth fans, and it was just never quite enough, and clearly Bill Foley saw similar to what we have all seen in AFCB, and I mean, obviously his initial investment and his 5-year plan is huge, and I think it was entirely built around stabilisation. And I mean, well, look at us now, but we'll definitely get some more of that in part 2.
Yeah, cool. Malcolm, the name was announced, and it was a case of, who is this guy for you, wasn't it?
Straight onto Google, mate. Seriously, it was. And then just had a look through, what he did at Rio, and obviously, his playing career, which obviously we'll come on to shortly. Obviously everything was new. Didn't know nothing about him, and I expect 99% of the fans didn't know him. So it was going to be an interesting start.
Yeah.
And I was just going to say, and also a tad anxious, right? Because the new owner, new huge aspirations for the club, new manager. After we'd just had got to a successful period with Eddie. Yeah, for me, there was too much going on, and I wasn't entirely confident in all of the choosings at that time. I'll be honest.
It's the unknown.
Yeah, possibly fear of the unknown. Yeah, possibly worries for similar mistakes like other club. I mean, look at Pompey. They got to a point where they invested too much, instantly went wrong. And there's tons of stories like that in football. And I think that was the nerve for me. That was what are we doing? Are we ready for this? But that was very quickly backed off, obviously.
Yeah, well, I mean, like Malcolm's just said there, I mean, as soon as everybody saw the name, it was a case of going to Google, and that's the first thing I must admit I did. And the first thing I took a look at personally was his playing career, because I wanted to look back on where he played and who he played for. And you can see a long period of his career, 14 years, was spent with Athletic Bilbao, which 510 appearances, 38 goals for a right back, I think is quite impressive. I think that said to me at the time that he was obviously quite attacking minded, even though his position was playing as a right back. But I thought straight away, is this guy going to be, on the front foot? I don't know. I think 38 goals for a right back is pretty impressive in my opinion. But
agreed. That's more than 5%. That's a lot more than most defenders you'll see.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you could look back at some right backs throughout the years, and a club legend for Bournemouth. I mean, let's go back to Neil Young. I think he was lucky to score 3 goals in all the appearances he made for Bournemouth. And he made plenty of appearances. Was it 600 odd or something like that? So straight away I thought to myself, well, there's an attacking right back here. But Malcolm, his club career, I think it says to me that he's loyal at the time, but also not scared to try something new with the likes of going to play in the MLS for New York City.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Obviously, looking at where he's been. 14 years at Athletic Club, amazing. It's very few players you see these days play so many games or have appearances at one particular club. It just doesn't happen these days. Perhaps, he knew which way he was going to be going, obviously enjoying his football, to be staying that long. I'm impressed with the goal tally as well, to be honest with you. But then going to the MLS, which he brought up a few times in different interviews, which is really interesting. Which is obviously he was slowing down in his career. Didn't have the pace he had when he was in Spain, and it sort of touched on Patrick Vieira was coaching him, and because of the position he was playing, he sort of moved into midfield in the MLS.
Oh wow! Okay.
Which was a really interesting point, and Patrick Vieira then taught him about looking around, being midfield player. So this is all knowledge which he's gaining, before he finally hangs his boots up as a player. But yeah, really, really cool.
Yeah. Ollie, in terms of playing under someone like Patrick Vieira, I'm sure someone like Vieira and many other coaches throughout his career probably shaped him as a coach. Would you agree with that kind of statement?
Absolutely, yeah. I think, as Malcolm said, everything that you learn on the pitch as a footballer usually turns you into a pretty good manager. I think specifically with going to the MLS as well, if you think back in 2015, 2016, the MLS wasn't really taking everyone. You had to be a player of a certain standard to be taken into the MLS 10 years ago, which I think shows, and again, there wasn't a crazy amount of Spanish players being taken into the MLS. So I think that shows that he was of a certain stature at that time where he was able to continue playing for another season in the MLS. So I think that proves the kind of character that he is. I think the goal tally shows his aggression as a defender, which comes out a hell of a lot in our football at the moment. You're absolutely right. It's almost like the perfect storm, isn't it, to come be ready to get to Bournemouth.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like I say, impressive playing career, but let's take a look at the managerial stats. Here we go, guys. Impressive, I think. I mean, when you look across the board, win percentages of 41.38, 36.73, and then 39.71. I think they're in various different divisions across Europe, but quite impressive to see, start as a young manager. I mean, what was your initial thoughts when you had a look at the managerial stats, Malcolm?
Well, obviously, I didn't go back as far as Larnaca. I just looked at Rayo Vallecano. I mean, if you hit 40% win percentage, then you're more than average, aren't you? And I think, if I'm right, Rayo went from second division into the La Liga, and he pulled out some massive results during his time there in the 3 years. So it must say an awful lot for him, for the guy, for the style of football he was playing in Spain. Because when you see the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona, especially Barcelona when they were playing the football they were playing at the time, it's really impressive stuff. So obviously, and he's still learning at that time. It's not as though he's saying, right, I am now a fully paid up member of the managers club. He's obviously taken it on board to have it as a career. Super stuff.
Yeah, I mean, even though he's had a 41.38% win percentage at his first club, he was actually dismissed there.
Yeah.
After 2 months without winning a single game. So he's obviously been on a learning path as well. So even though that's quite an impressive percentage, he still ended up actually losing his job there. I do believe at one of the clubs, one of his first 2 clubs, he actually won a trophy there. It was the equivalent to the Cyprus Charity Shield. Is that right? Am I right in thinking?
I don't know on that. I haven't researched that.
I thought I've seen something. Yeah, I think I read something like that yesterday.
Yeah, there is a trophy. So he has actually, been successful in a one-off sort of cup final scenario as well. Ollie, I mean, taking a look at these stats, and probably especially at his last club before signing for Bournemouth, impressive. But what's your initial thoughts on the stats?
I think ultimately he's winning more than he's losing in every single one of these roles. So I think, averages and ratios and statistics and reasons for sackings can all come down on a CV, but ultimately he's winning more games than he's losing. And I think that's what's important.
Yeah.
Let's do it straight off the bat. I think bottom level is, if you can win more than you're losing as a manager, then you're already heading in the right direction and building a foundation of a successful club.
Yeah, no, definitely. And obviously, like we were speaking just briefly before coming on, Leeds United actually made an approach for him, but obviously he turned them down and left at the end of that current campaign. He left Rayo Vallecano, I think that's how you pronounce it, to obviously pursue new paths, and that path obviously was with AFC Bournemouth. So at the time, many would have been scratching their heads, but look at the process. Obviously, everything was lined up, and much work had been done behind closed doors and long distance telephone calls. But could this be the start of a new era, or just another owner trying to make a go of things in the Premier League? Now, I find that quite interesting, because obviously with how quick O'Neill went out the door, does say to me that this was in the pipeline for quite some time, that obviously the club was doing their due diligence and their research and looking into this guy as a manager and whether he could take the current crop of players forward with the new additions that they would be making at that time. Does that, I mean, this is just football, isn't it? I mean, we're seeing it now, with, Nottingham Forest, for example, who are now onto their 3rd manager for this current season. Things are always done in the background, but I think the homework that the club, and I'm assuming it would mainly have been that at the time, Richard Hughes and Simon Francis working on this, to appoint the right man. And obviously we know now that they've done that right. But at the time, I mean, do you think that it was a case of this was a gamble or not? Ollie, let's come to you first.
Yes and no. How can you ever say it's not a gamble? I don't think you can never be confident enough to say, oh no, we know exactly what we're doing. This is the perfect plan. We've got everything, every possibility and situation nailed out. We're all good. I think that's you can't say that. It's an implausible situation. I think it was a gamble. And I think, as Bill, again, it comes back to Bill Foley a little bit, right? As someone who's going to plug this amount of money into a club, he has to understand the background environment of Bournemouth as a team, as a club, how they got there, the period with Eddie, how Frano got to the position that he's in. All these names and players that are still the spine of our club helped orchestrate the picking of this manager. And I think there was a criteria to be like, look, to get stability and to get to the next position, to be attractive to a certain kind of players, we need to play a certain kind of football or have a certain kind of criteria behind us. And I think aside from being really, really clever in football and football management and understanding how to build that framework and that picture, that has to come from a back end football business development point of view. It has to come from an investor, from a board of directors standpoint, before it gets to that kind of granular level of Frano picking Iraola. Do you know what I mean? So yes, I think it was a gamble the whole way, but I think it was an orchestrated gamble. I think they all knew what the plan they wanted to be, and all they've done is use their football prowess to make that happen now. I think it's genius what's happened.
Yeah. Malcolm, do you want to follow up that explanation?
Oh, good grief. How do you?
Because it was very well done.
It was really, from my point of view, they'd already contacted Andoni. How long beforehand, we don't know. Obviously, he must have ticked all the boxes. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been picked. They must have sold the project to him and what was available. Obviously, he wouldn't stop his contract or terminate his contract. He waited till it was over. As a gamble? No, I don't think so, because I think they'd done their homework and they had full trust and faith in what they were doing. So, that is why I wouldn't say no, it's not a gamble, rather very clever business.
Yeah.
But as fans, we weren't to know at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Very, very true. But yeah, as we know, as soon as the manager gets appointed, the first thing everybody wants to do is hear from him. So we'll just take a look back at his first interview. And this is what it was. Well, there's a couple of questions that he was asked. We're only going to highlight a little bit, and then we're just going to give our thoughts on his first interview. But he was obviously welcomed to AFC Bournemouth, and he was asked how pleased he was to be here, and his response was, "I'm really pleased, really grateful for the opportunity that AFC Bournemouth has given me, and now you know the challenge. I want to start working with the players as soon as possible, and it's, I think, an exciting challenge for me, and we will have to get ready because it's not going to be easy. You know this, you know the Premier League, you know the league, it is going to be tough, but we have to be prepared. Then he was then asked, now you have become our head coach at the start of the last week. 10 days or so has passed since then. What has that period been like for you?" And Andoni went on to say, "A lot of work, even if officially I was on holidays. A lot of work to do, a lot of video, a lot of new faces, new players. One of the reasons I'm here is because I love a lot of the players we already have in the squad. I love the work rate they have, and I'm really looking forward to start with them and try to help them as much as possible." He was then asked, "You've had a day or so to look around the place. You've seen the training ground. You've seen the stadium. What do you make of the facilities here?" And he said, "For me, the facilities are great. They know that the club is building a new one and probably will be much better. But for me, the ones we already have are very good and more than enough to work properly. A lot of new faces, a lot of names to remember, but we are in the process. And the thing is, once we're on the pitch and the ball starts rolling, I think it will be much easier, for we have to change some things. Because, okay, obviously we have our own ideas, but a lot of things that were well done, we want to maintain them to keep a lot of familiar faces. I think the club also transmits some kind of of a family club that I love. I will love. I'm used to work in this kind of clubs, and that's something that we cannot lose. And he also was then asked, you're in a position now where you've got a full pre-season ahead of you. The transfer window also open. How valuable is it to have these 6 weeks to get to know the squad ready for the 12th of August? And he said, I think we have time. We have to work while these 5-6 weeks before we start the season. Obviously, clubs doing job in the transfer window, but I'm more concerned really with the to work with the players we already have. I think we have very good players, and obviously the club's trying to improve the team, new faces, new signings, or who can help us. But I think the core of the group will be the same, and I'm really happy because I think we have a really good squad of players. So guys, a little bit there, obviously, that's literally how he said it word for word. So yeah, a little bit difficult one to read through there. But
that's good. That's a good effort.
we get the gist of it. So to me, sounds like he was happy to obviously come to the club, a family club, club that's probably familiar to what he was with at Bilbao. And obviously he must have done his research in the squad before agreeing, because he seemed quite happy with the basis of what we already had here. So Malcolm, what did you make of his first initial interview?
Some positives reading through it and listening to it. Obviously, when I first heard it on YouTube, it was like, wow, he's more than happy to be here. It's a new start for him, a new challenge. What I really enjoyed about the interview is the fact that the core of players that were already here, he wants to keep hold of them. And obviously the work starts on the training pitch from day one. And yeah, it was fortunate that it was pre-season, so he had the 5 to 6 weeks, whatever it was, to get used to putting some of his ideas out and getting the fitness levels up, I guess, because obviously he will have different training staff. So yeah. I think really, really positive. And well, as we all know, he's more than happy at Bournemouth. So it's not only for his job, but also for his family, that they've found a place, settled down and enjoying life on the South Coast. But very impressive start. Spoke very clearly. And like I said, loads of positives in that first interview.
Yeah. Ollie, would you agree with that? Obviously, lots of positives and looking like a very bright future from just that interview.
Absolutely, yeah. It's clear to see. It comes back to the word I used earlier: potential. It's clear to see that he understands and can clearly see the potential that the club's got from day one. Obviously, with those words in that interview, it shows he's not stepping into something blindfolded. He's ready to come in and execute a plan.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think it was very impressive as well. So, I do agree with both your points there. But obviously, with the new manager coming in, and like every summer, we're always very, very keen to see which players get added to the squad. And let's just have a quick look at the transfer window that Andoni first oversaw while he was at the club.
I think this is where you can really see his tactical identity, right? It comes out here.
Yes, I think you're spot on. And how much input, Andoni has in this. Obviously, we know at the time we had Richard Hughes and Simon Francis that dealt with most of the transfer dealings, but I'm sure Andoni's had some impact on which players were signed by the club. So, yeah, I think you're spot on with that statement there, Ollie. Definitely. So first signing through the door for that summer was Justin Kluivert, which I thought at the time was an absolute amazing signing, and especially when you look at the fee, an absolute bargain, and still one of my favourite players to this very day. Milos Kerkez signed for 15.5 million. And then we brought in the young English talent in Alex Scott from Bristol City, who at the time was attracting quite a lot of attention. And I think we just snatched him from under the nose of Wolverhampton Wanderers at the time, if memory serves me right. Max Aaron's another favourite of mine, who at one point was talked about being a £20 million to a £30 million rated player. And we managed to sign him from Norwich for £7 million. Tyler Adams, coming from Leeds. Unfortunate start for him. Didn't play much in his first season, but that £23 million is well spent. We're seeing the real rewards of that now. Hamid Traore was on loan the previous season, but the deal was completed for 20 million. He had a obligation to buy, I think it was. So that deal was completed. So that was a deal from the previous season. And then Roman Ferrer comes in from Lyon for 12.8 million. So guys, that's the first window. There's also the January transfer window, which we'll touch on very slightly in a minute. But what do you make of the players that we did sign in this particular window?
Good, Ollie.
Yeah. So look, I think it's clear to see the start of Bill Foley's investment. Just for a bit of information, I think it was 99 million of investment in 2023-2024 in those transfer seasons. And blimey, 100 million well spent. I mean, he's got most of that back just from Alex Scott and Justin Kluivert's valuations, right? So, it's ridiculous. I think what you can see that he's building here is everything that we now are, and it comes back to this tactical identity, kind of press, transition, compactness. I mean, look at these players. Tyler Adams still here. Hamid Traore still getting his game time in pre-season for us. You know, this is 2 seasons ago we signed him now. Max Aaron's. Who else was on the other screen? Sorry. So look, the players that we've brought in there are not only entirely unknown, in my opinion, to the average Premier League watcher, which firstly makes them well out of the box, but just seeing how they fit in and the players that we still have now is it's awesome. It's really awesome. Like what a starting transfer window.
Yeah, and you can see from like you just touched on there very briefly, you know, with the likes of Milos Kerkez, you know, signed for 15.5 million and then sold, what was it, for 36, 38, was it, something like that? So, you know, made some good profit on the players brought in as well. Malcolm, your initial thoughts on the personalities that were brought in this window?
I think it's a wow factor, isn't it, thrown in here? Obviously with Kluivert coming in, being, you know, living in Europe, and you follow the European leagues around and you see, and I think, crikeys, how did they manage to snap him up? You know, sort of blew me away. Obviously with Kirk is a bit of an unknown, but hey ho. Like coming from Bristol City, Alex Scott, super talent. He's just progressed from day one, really. It's taken time. He's international recognition, which is brilliant. He must be knocking on our door soon for maybe full England cap. Not sure if it's going to be this season, but the potential is there. You know, the season is long. Okay, Max Aaron's, a bit unfortunate really with, I suppose, not getting all the starting minutes he would have wanted. But hey ho, he's out on loan, isn't he? Currently.
Yeah, changes.
So
yeah.
Watch this space. Tyler Adams, as you pointed out, a bit unfortunate with the first season with injuries, but Captain America, bring it on. And the other 2 guys, Traore and Favre, you're going to bring players in, and they're not all going to be used, you know, as starters. They're going to be squad players. Can they fit in? It's just the merry-go-round with football, you know. And over the time that Andoni's been in, you've seen players come in but haven't quite made it, or not favourable, shall we say, or loaned out. It's the same with the players that he had when he came in. the core of players stayed, but there was enough there that it had to filter out, which is what they actually did eventually. So, but yeah, super first transfer window.
Yeah, no, definitely impressive transfer window. And just to quickly touch on the January window, we brought in Scottish international goalkeeper Callum McKenna. He signed for us after turning Manchester United down in a deal worth about £300,000, and that was all due to a 20-minute phone call with Simon Francis, who changed his mind. And then, of course, we completed the deal for Leeds winger Luis Sinisterra for a fee of 20 million. So that was the January window. But let's just touch on something that's always very important for a manager, and that's their backroom staff. And unfortunately, when Andoni first signed, there was a little bit of an issue for him. He was actually set to be joined by his former teammate, Perez, who would become Andoni's assistant on the touchline. But unfortunately, that wasn't to be. As Perez had only 1 year's experience as a top flight coach, he was unable to obtain a work permit to join Iraola on the south coast. So how do you think this would have affected Andoni's plans and coaching setup at the time then, guys?
I think it would have definitely made him feel uncomfortable. I mean, let's be honest, anyone coming to the Premier League isn't, I mean, it's not the task that you want on your plate, is it? Immediately. So yeah, I imagine very daunting, very off-putting. No wonder he lost his first few games.
Adjusted, I suppose. Yeah, absolutely. Malcolm, manager always wants to have their choice of backroom team, but yeah, like Ollie's just said there, would you agree with Ollie's comment?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a bit unfortunate circumstances, really. That Perez couldn't come along, but he's got Tommy there alongside him now. So obviously there must have been a very quick reshuffle and lots of talks behind the doors. How are we going to set up? And yeah, it's not ideal, when you first come in and things like this happen, with your personnel. So it's going to need time to adjust.
Yeah.
So hey ho.
But he does have a certain fitness coach who we see very animated.
He does indeed. Pablo de la Torre. Yeah. So, I'm sure there's a little bit of Spanish spoken there along the way. So at least that's, at least one part of the puzzle in. I don't know if you guys ever follow European football, but the Rio club, when you see the lineups and go through the teams, and Perez is always his name is at the bottom, so he's got his manager's job in Spain in La Liga, so it's quite interesting to follow what's going on a little bit outside the bubble. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they must have long distance conversations with each other. So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's take a look at the new coaching team then. So obviously, like you've just touched on, he had to make, and the club had to make other plans for him. So initially, Tommy Elflick and Sean Cooper stepped up to cover until Perez was set to join. But when that obviously didn't materialise, it was confirmed that they would stay part of Andoni's backroom staff. So he has developed a strong and collaborative working relationship with Sean Cooper and Tommy Elflick, who stepped up as key assistants after his original plans were disrupted, as we've just discussed. How the partnership evolved. So Tommy Elflick, legend of the club, was part of the club's coaching setup, a former Bournemouth captain, as we all know very well, stepped up to assist Andoni. His leadership qualities and his familiarity with the club culture proved very invaluable as Iraola adapted to the Premier League environment. And Sean Cooper, already again part of Bournemouth's coaching staff, was described by Iraola as someone he was lucky to inherit, as Cooper's deep understanding of the club and its players helped smooth the transition for Iraola, especially during the early stages of his tenure. And complementary strengths. So Iraola has acknowledged that the initial period was challenging without Perez, but praised Cooper and Elflick for quickly building a strong rapport with him. Over time, the trio developed a rhythm where each coach focused on different aspects during matches, allowing for more comprehensive tactical overview. Now, yeah, I mean, like he said there, he was very lucky to inherit what he inherited. But some key points there in terms of, it's not always just about your coaching skills, but it's also knowing the club, knowing the players that you work with. So tactically, I think this is, a match made in heaven. Would you agree, Ollie?
Yes. Yeah, I would. I think, as we just said, obviously it's going to be tough entering into this kind of environment, right? And the lads there, obviously you wouldn't expect anything less from the Bournemouth lads with your back office to take him in and give him a bit of bounce and make him feel like one of the boys, which he clearly has straight away. I think that's really special. I think, especially coming into a club like Bournemouth, it comes back to how we started the show. There was obviously a set criteria, a clear understanding of what they want for the town, because it's not a city, they've really come into a big project here. And I think this was one of the most important parts, was having this solidarity between our coaching staff, which it could have very easily gone the wrong way with the issues with Perez. So yeah, big up Tommy Elphick and Sean Cooper, because they're Bournemouth lads, aren't they? They've been with us for ever since I can remember, for years. Yeah. So I couldn't think of anyone better to welcome him with open arms.
Yeah. Malcolm, I mean, when you look back over the club's history, I mean, even from like the Redknapp days, there's always been this kind of transition where people have always stepped up throughout, the club. Obviously, when you look back at previous managers, after Redknapp left, Pulis, who was on the coaching staff, stepped up. And then when Machin come in, after Pulis left and Machin went upstairs as director of football, Sean O'Driscoll, who was first team coach at the time, stepped up. So there's always been that kind of rhythm throughout the club over the years. And this is kind of just echoed the strengths of that within the club, isn't it?
Definitely. The first thing that Andoni's inherited here is an abundance of knowledge and history, which is instilled within the club. And obviously you move forward to Eddie Howe, from not only playing but managing, and the culture. And you can actually see, the way it's developed. It's taken an awful long time, but the groundstones were laid long ago, and it just needed the right people at the right time as a collective to come into place and then move it forward. And it's great to see, ex-players that are involved in very important positions still at the club. It could be easy to say, my body can't take any more. I'm finished playing football. I don't want any more to do with it. But it's not just being a footballer. It's all this knowledge that they've gained over their career. And especially at a club like Bournemouth, you can't just throw that away. So experience and knowledge, certainly brilliant partnership all round.
Yeah, definitely. And just before we move on, both of those players also, ex-players, both of them part of Andoni's coaching staff now, both played under a certain Mr. Howe as well, didn't they?
Yeah, so glad you mentioned Mr. Howe. Just a little shout out to Eddie. My goodness. I don't think we'd be where we are today with the love and passion in our hearts for the team that we've got here without the time that Eddie had with our club. So a piece of my heart will always be with Eddie.
Absolutely. It's a legacy, that, isn't it? A legacy in its own right. And this man here is building his legacy now. So it's,
which is even more exciting to watch at the moment. So
it certainly is. I couldn't agree with you more on that one. So let's just cast our minds back then to Andoni's first Premier League encounter. Now, obviously, we'd had some pre-season friendlies that year. I remember going to watch FC Lorient, the other club that's part of the Bill Foley portfolio. And I remember watching that early doors and actually thinking, yeah, there's something here. I'm enjoying this kind of football. But I do remember going to this game and feeling very, very nervous. But guys, just very quickly, what was your initial thoughts in the build-up to the first game? Were you kind of excited? Were you worried? Was it a mixture of feelings? I mean, Malcolm, do you want to go first quickly on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's a new era. Try not to get too carried away. Try not to expect too much. See how the game plays out. Because even for the players, new guys coming in, new manager, new system, you can't expect it to, take off straight away. So it was just a question of like, wait and see, and then you can evaluate it afterwards. Always watch the game back again, and then. But I wasn't worried. I wasn't worried at all. I was a little bit apprehensive, perhaps. Certainly not nervous because, hey, this is something new. It's unknown. So we'll have to take it on the chin, whatever happens. So, in that respect, first game out, a little bit apprehensive, but just glad to see football rolling again.
Yeah, just before, just after we get your point, Ollie, we'll have a look at the first lineup. But what was your feelings and thoughts, Ollie, before the game?
Yeah, I think I was similar to you. I remember catching, I think it was two of the preseason, maybe there was only two, but I think I caught two preseason games. And it was Lorient and Wrexham.
Yeah.
I don't think we did very well against Wrexham, if my memory serves me right. And we won 2-0 against Lorient. And you're right, it was a different kind of play that did get everyone a bit more excited. So the lead up to the first game, I think I had more expectation than anything. As you do as a football fan, with a new manager and an exciting plan and all these other things going on. But yeah, it was nerve-wracking. It was nerve-wracking.
It definitely was. And I think if I remember rightly, I predicted a draw on this one. Don't think I've got the scoreline right, if I remember rightly, but I did predict a draw because at the time I think West Ham had just come on the back of the Conference League win the previous May, and they looked fairly decent under Moyes at that time. So I thought a draw in Andoni's first game would be a fairly fair result. But let's take a quick look at that team that he picked on that day. A few surprises. I thought on the day, but we'll have a look how the team's evolved as well in the next few parts of this program. But this was the first team. So he stuck with the captain in Neto, which was a decision that Gary O'Neill made to make Neto captain the previous season. So he stuck with him as number one and as the captain. Kirkes came in to make his debut. And the back partnership there, the centre-back partnership of Senesi and Sabani. Good, strong partnership there. And new signing Max Aarons also come in at right back. Surprise for me was to see Rothwell in the team, actually, with Billin. Jayden Anthony, who's now doing very well at Burnley, great player, was picked on the left flank with Christie, which I think really will show the evolution of the squad as we look into the different lineups throughout the next couple of parts. Playing in behind Dom Solanke and Brooksy there on the right as well with Dom up front.
Joe Rothwell, was that? Did he get an assist that game against West Ham?
Oh, crikeys. Now you're asking me.
Yeah,
look at that, because I think when you said that was a surprise for you, I thought to myself, I think I remember that game because he performed, and I think I remember thinking, why is he not in the club anymore? What's gone on with Rothwell? Maybe it was that game, maybe it wasn't. But yeah, I just had a little memory unlock there.
And then when you look at the bench, it's a little bit more surprising, especially when you're, with what we're watching now. The bench obviously consisted of Mepham, Clivert, who should be starting, I thought at the time anyway. Radu, who was on loan from Inter Milan. Kiefer Moore, Toure, Hill, Semenyo was selected on the bench for his first game, which now you just wouldn't believe it, would you? Gavin Kilkenny and Greenwood as well. Both those players have moved on now. But the first selection, I mean, we'll look at the evolution of the team throughout the next couple of parts. But I think now when you look back at it, it's hilarious to see Semenyo on the bench. But I just think that really proves what Andoni's done with the players and how he's brought those players on, which is something we'll look at in future parts. But the game itself then, after a 1-1 draw at home to West Ham on the 12th of August, the Cherries would gain only 2 more points, with draws away to Brentford 2-2 and a goalless home draw to Chelsea in September, with 6 defeats up to the 21st of October. It certainly would not have been the start that Andoni and the players would have wanted. Some fans were very critical about the change made back in the summer, which, I can see why. And it was a different style of football that Andoni was trying to install in his players as he continued to look for that first win. I think what we'd do is if we have a quick look at that sort of period of time, and I think a lot of the fans were kind of agitated at the time. I mean, the game that really stands out there for me was the Brentford fixture. And being at Brentford, watching that, the football was great. We were playing some really, really great football in that game, but there just wasn't something that hadn't clicked into place quite yet. But I think this is a real credit to the management of the club for sticking with Andoni, because you can see what's happening at clubs like, prime example, we said it earlier, Forest, easy to make, quick changes, but sometimes it takes time for things to implement. And I always think throughout those games, no matter what the result there was always a little bit of belief that you could see that this was going to click. And when it does, we're going to be fine. I don't know, Malcolm, if you had that same kind of thoughts around that time.
Yeah, certainly watching them. A 1-1 draw West Ham, fine. Take that with a pinch of salt. Free hit against Liverpool. And then you start asking, okay, let's move on. But as you rightly said, performances, they're in-game. There were parts of the games where, rightly so, things were happening, perhaps not coming off the way we would have liked them to. But there was slowly a pattern developing. And for me, it was just a question of when and not if. Unfortunately, it did take 9 games, and I still wasn't worried. That's the crazy thing. A lot of fans, I mean, not only fans, but pundits, that supposedly should know or have the knowledge, they were screaming, what the hell have Bournemouth done here? But I think, there is a core of fans, they believe in what's happening. It's not all of them, because they're not, our friend Craig wasn't exactly over enthusiastic about it. So, I mean, I don't know how you felt, with this run of games, but having said that, there were things there that were happening. Okay, the Arsenal game, I didn't think we'd get anything anyway.
No.
Yeah, a disappointing performance at Everton. But it is what it is. And you just got to take it on the chin and say, look, stick at it, it's going to happen. And bearing in mind, how many games we played there, and then there's still plenty to play for. And you're
Yeah.
looking then at the teams that are around you. These are the teams that we're going to have to start getting points off of.
Yeah.
And then the process goes from there. Once you get a win under your belt, you get the confidence, and then you go.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, yeah, I can echo what you said there. Craig was after a certain Jesse Marsh at the time to come in and take over, which is beyond me. But I do remember watching the games and thinking that there is something here, and when it gels, it will gel. Ollie, AFC Bournemouth were right not to sack this man, weren't they?
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt. I think I'm the same as you in regards to if you're going to bring someone in, you got to give them time anyway. It can't be down to the first 15 games. You can't expect someone to. It doesn't work like that in any aspect of life or any circumstance. They need time to gel, especially with 11 or 25 separate people that they've got to then put on a pitch at 11 at a time. More time is always due. I think my concern was I was actually at the Arsenal game. And that was Saliba, and they had a fantastic defence, and they were all over us, which so they should have been at the time. I think I was more disappointed in the next game, the follow up with Everton. That was a really terrible game, and I remember at that point thinking, "Crikey!" Like, you can see it, as you said, you could see something, but there was just little sparks. There was nothing to latch onto and be confident with. I think it was only up until about 5 weeks after that Wolves game that, for me, things started to change. But yeah, they're definitely right to stick with him, and I think it's naive to have judged him too early, for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then, as they say, it all clicked into place. So the final game of October was at home to Burnley. And I do remember that there was sort of like talk about, he's got to win this one, or as he could be out the door. I don't know if you two remember that, but there was kind of talk about him possibly up for the chop. I think Bill Foley might have flown in for this game. But a really good encounter against a strong Vincent Kompany side, and a brilliant strike by one of their players, Charlie Taylor, after 11 minutes, gave Burnley the lead. The score was disposed in the 22nd minute by Semenyo, who ran on to score a good individual goal. And then the highlight of the game had to be a wonderful strike from Phil Billing after 76 minutes. It must have been a good, 35 yards, I think, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
Which caught James Trafford well out of his goal. Finally, a 3-pointer for the Cherries, which brings some belief and relief to the faithful fans, which it certainly did. A trip to the blue side of Manchester followed on the 4th of November, a 6-1 defeat, which was not good. But I think we all saw that one coming. I think at the time, City was still, the best side in Europe, weren't they? Let's be honest. And, some nice passages of play during that 90 minutes. But at that point, people could see that, it was starting to happen despite the defence leaking goals at that time. But from November the 11th up to Boxing Day, the Cherries went on a 7-game unbeaten run with 6 wins and a draw. Now, this is where it got really exciting. The highlight being the 3-0 away win at Manchester United. After the 3-0 win at home to Fulham, Bournemouth were into the top half of the table. And who would have believed that after the start Andoni had, which, is absolutely spot on. So there's the fixtures, guys. I know, this was... It had all just clicked into place. I think that time, Andoni had the time to work with the players. The players understood the philosophy. I think everybody brought into what was happening. But I mean, some great results there. Obviously, beating Newcastle at home in the November, going away beating Sheffield, decent draw at home to Villa, good win away at Palace. That Manchester United one will forever stand out. That game at Forest was a great game for the neutral. But some really good results there that stand out for Bournemouth, isn't there?
Yeah, I think it really started to show squad resiliency, right? I mean, I think I remember the United game. That was a Senesi goal, 80 minutes, I think, last goal of the game. There's definitely some standout moments in the build up to that, starting with Newcastle, where players really started to fall into their own. But I think more importantly, we weren't just winning games; we were looking dangerous, and we were getting into a position where we weren't just safe. We were trying to excel pretty much from that moment on. And we haven't really stopped trying to push and better from that little period of time there. Incredible moments in history for sure for us as a football club.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the style of chaotic football, Malcolm, was really taken off.
Yeah, just loving it. Really impressive there. I mean, 4 clean sheets as well in that nice little run. So yeah, I mean the highlight obviously for me was a 3-0 at Manchester. I was just like, wow, can we have some more of this, please? It was just like you just don't want it to stop. The other brilliant results. Yeah, 2-0 at Palace was super good. Notts Forest, wow.
Yeah, I think that was a big one at the time, wasn't it? The Forest game again. That was a huge 3 points with how they were performing.
Yeah. But finally, it came to fruition. Everything that Andoni wanted. If you look back on that Burnley game, there was an incident, wasn't there? They had a goal cancelled out by VAR for offside,
Yes.
which would have meant a draw. So, perhaps that was the turning point for me. I remember actually watching that Burnley game live, and I mean, I was a wreck afterwards. I really was, and this VAR decision for the offside took so long. But so happy for everybody really involved with the club that they got the 3 points. I said, come on, yes, we know Man City's next up, so don't expect miracles. But at least, they give them the confidence to go out and perform. And, it's never look back, really.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think what was interesting at the time as well, there was an interview with Tyler Adams, who described Andoni as one of the best coaches he has ever had. He distances himself from the players, but he demands the highest quality from his players every single day. Tyler also said the football Bournemouth play was organised chaos, but in a good way. They tried to make it as uncomfortable for the opposition as possible, which is what they do in training. So for the players, it is nothing new. Tyler also mentioned that Andoni is a thinker and finds solutions to adapt, and can also adapt. I mean, that kind of statement there from a player to say that he's one of the best coaches he's ever had obviously says a lot for the character of Andoni, doesn't it, Ollie?
Yeah, it does indeed. I think it speaks volumes when you're being put through those rigorous training sessions and having to adapt so much as a player for a club that isn't necessarily in top 6 or European competitions, and everyone's doing it. Everyone sees the time and the respect that Andoni deserves and the plan that he's built for Bournemouth, and they're all bought in. So yeah, it's awesome to hear.
Yeah, no, totally agree, Malcolm. I mean, that must be just if you're a manager reading that, I mean, what a compliment. I don't think there's a highest compliment you could have, really, is there?
No, I mean it also shows how connected everybody is, within the setup. For them guys to go into training, although it is damn difficult, it is very exhausting work that they have to do. But to actually come out and with the statement like Tyler said there, one of the best coaches he's ever had. It's not just about, the hard training, everything, but it's giving the instructions, the reading of the games, the passages, little bits and pieces in midfield, because obviously Tyler being, very important to be in front of the back four and what he has to look for. And I mean, the interview that Tyler gave, he actually did point out some other little bits and pieces about Andoni when they had conversations, and it surprised Tyler exactly what he was listening to, because Andoni said, well, you should be doing this and that. And Tyler said, well, I couldn't see that. But Andoni said, well, I could see it before it happened. So you should also be seeing it. And it was really, really interesting. It wasn't a get out or anything like that. It was just, basically explaining the thought process from the manager on the side. Maybe something that Tyler could be actually looking at maybe in the next game, this thought process and everything. So I find it really, really interesting, especially when you can pick up bits of information like this. And yeah, wow, excellent stuff. And it's like I said, to have this connection with your manager, enjoy going in every day because you love what you're doing. You know what you're going to get. Okay, you don't have to be pally with the manager, but you respect him and you understand him what his job is, and they will work for him. They will work their socks off for him. So yeah, I think it's a wonderful relationship all round.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like I say, some great comments there from Tyler Adams. But let's just quickly run down the rest of the season before we get both your overviews on Andoni's first season. So from the last day of 2023 up until the 24th of February, the Cherries managed only 3 draws and 4 defeats. Probably not the start of 2024 Andoni would have wanted. March saw a good improvement in results, and going into the start of April, 4 wins and a draw. A game that certainly deserves a mention was at home to Luton on the 13th of March. This was a fixture previously abandoned on December the 16th due to Tom Lockyer collapsing on the pitch due to a cardiac arrest. And yeah, that's something that will, being at that game, it was just it was hard to watch that sort of 20 minutes where they were working on him on the pitch. It was a very, very difficult watch. An extraordinary game under the lights. The rearranged game was, and obviously Luton come in and really impacted against us. Obviously going 3-0 up in the first half. I remember my brother saying to me, right, I'm off now. I've had enough of watching this, for me to convince him to stay. And, you never know, we might be able to nick a draw out of it. But an unbelievable second half. I had a bit of feedback there. Sorry, guys. An unbelievable second half comeback. Saw the Cherries win by 4-3 goals. Goals scored by Solanke, Zabani, and a brace from that man Semenyo. Whatever Andoni had said in his half-team team talk must have certainly worked. It is games like these that make watching Andoni's style and tactical know-how so exciting. And then the remaining 8 fixtures of the season from April the 6th to 19th of May saw us gaining 2 wins and a draw with 5 defeats. Italia 48 points and 12th position in the league was a decent start under Andoni after such a difficult start. The players were now in tune with what Andoni and his coaching staff were asking of the players. There is the high press, which makes the opposition unsure, high energy and quick, slick passing movements. The fitness levels of the players remain high under Andoni's coaching. So, guys, some epic games there. Obviously, the Luton rearranged fixture is something that will stay long in the memory. But how would you both sum up, his first season at Bournemouth? Malcolm, do you want to go first on this one?
Unbelievable, I would say. Considering the start, nobody could foresee how we would end up. But they stuck to everything that Andoni believed in. Obviously, with the coaching staff and everybody involved. I think it surprised most people to finish so high up. But I would say it was a successful first season for him. I really do. Coming in as an unknown, having to go through that first sort of month, 2 months, I'm sure I'm not saying he would have had doubts about his abilities, because he works. He's a thinker, and he goes on, and sooner or later something's going to happen. And I just so thrilled for him, really, at that time, thinking back that even obviously going into the new year. So, well, we got no concerns now, and obviously the more points that came on the board, you always look for that magic 40, don't you? And
Yeah.
As it so happens, I think that it was even less than that, wasn't it? That the teams are getting. So, no concerns at all. And just see where we finish up. It's a good. It was a good starting point for him, and a question would be, where do we go from here? I suppose. In the second season, because I would never believe that we could probably, finish in Europe in the first season anyway. I think that would be a ridiculous thought to have. But stabilise ourselves, maintain our status in the Premier League was the really important factor there, and they did it comfortably in the end. So yeah, successful season for me.
Yeah, Ollie, your views?
Yeah, absolutely echo all of those words. Cannot stress again, overachievement versus expectation. 9th place, we finished. That's sorry, it was 12th place, wasn't it?
12th place.
Right, sorry, I'm thinking of the last season. I think given the starting run of games, given our concern with the changes, all of the new faces, the new signings, the investment, all of this unforeseen future that we all had, and then to finish 12th after such a decent run of games, and seeing players like, Brooksy came out, he was fantastic the second half of that season. Really, really fantastic second half of that season. And there was a couple of players obviously that stood out, but I just think everything that he did in the build up to where we are now, the work and the defeats and the turbulency, the roller coaster of emotions for him in that first season. Just fantastic effort. Really, really fantastic effort.
Yeah, no, totally agree. It was a great whirlwind of a season, I think I would describe it as. But this has been part 1, episode 1, I think we're calling it, of the Andoni Half Time Report, where we're looking back at the impact that Andoni Iraola has had at AFC Bournemouth. So join us in the next one, where we'll be looking at the previous season to this current one, and we're going to look back at some more of the games, the impact he's had, and the growth of some of our star players. I'm sure that you can already name a few that we will be discussing. But until the next one, from myself, Malcolm, and Ollie, all that's left to say is up the Cherries.
Up the Cherries.
Up the Cherries.
Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.
I should be like you, Mel.